Hi there, I'm Achie, speaker, coach, and entrepreneur. I'm also a wife and mom to the Seans, my brilliant hubby, Sean Sr., and my vivacious toddler, Sean Jr. I am a perpetual student to this thing called life, and boy, has life taught me some lessons. What I absolutely love is helping you to identify and debunk the limiting beliefs that cause you to hide from your awesomeness. It's time to reprogram your thinking. So settle in, get comfy, and let's girl talk. Just you and me. This is the I Am Achie podcast. ...2020 and 2021 thus far have both been years of massive personal change for me. There's something about slowing down that forces you to ponder, reevaluate, discover what's working and what's not. And that's what 2020 did for so many of us. 2020 was also the year that I truly decided that I would no longer place my identity in doctrines or other people's philosophies and ideas, but that I would carve out my own space in this little bitty corner of the earth and walk boldly in it. You know, it's really challenging to make core changes. And what I mean by that is like changes that have been associated with your identity. Changes that are a part of your core self. Changes that challenge the foundation of who you are. That can be challenging. And it can be challenging not only for you, but it can be challenging for those around you because people have expectations of you. They just do, right? And people that you're in close relationship with, your spouse, your children, your parents, your family members, your close friends, whether they realize it or not, or whether you realize it or not, they have expectations on some level of you. And their interaction with you throughout the years has looked a certain way because of how you show up based on who you are, right? So when you start to make changes to that, it may be difficult for some to accept it. Not because they don't like it, which some may not like it actually, but because it's just different. You know, someone recently asked me, have my recent changes affected those close to me? And if I'm completely honest, the answer is yes. And not in a negative way, but it has affected those around me. Whenever you make changes, it's going to affect more than just you because nothing you do only affects you. So any change you make, good or bad, it affects others. And I'm a different person than I was 10 years ago. I'm a different person than I was 5 years ago. Heck, I'm even a different person than I was a year ago. And that requires a mental shift for the people around you, as well as for you. For someone who maybe was close to me, 2 years ago, and if we interact now, I am still Achie in my heart, but I am so different. My beliefs are so different. The way I process things are so different. And the thing about change is that it happens both gradually and suddenly. And I say gradually because change occurs little by little, little by little, little by little, with every book that you read, every podcast that you listen to, every transformational conversation that you engage in, every time you journal, every time you are in meditation. Those little small decisions you make, every minute adjustment that you engage in, it all adds up. And then one day you look at yourself in the mirror and you're a different person, and it seems as if the change has happened suddenly. It has not. But it seems that way because when you're changing in small ways, maybe you don't notice it as much, or those on the outside don't notice it. But when you put all of those small changes together, it's a big shift. And it's a sudden, whoa, where did this new person emerge from? And you can look at yourself in the mirror one day and you don't recognize yourself. You're a completely different person. Or you listen to yourself talk and you don't sound the same. Or something happens and you don't respond in the same way. And sometimes this can be a lot for people around you. The other day I was on the phone with my dad and he said, "You don't even sound like yourself. You sound so mature." I had to remind him, "Daddy, I know I'm a daddy's girl. I know I will always be your baby. But this baby is almost 39 years old. I'm knocking on the door of 40. I am an entire grown woman." But what he heard was actually not me aging, because I know people who are aging, but they are not maturing, they're not growing, and they're not evolving. So what he heard was not age on me. What he heard was evolution. He heard transformation. And although he was fine with it, sometimes it's really tough for people to adjust to the new you, even if it's a better version of you. And as an example, I have a friend, her brother is an alcoholic. And even though she absolutely hated the fact that he was alcoholic and how it affected the family, she had unfortunately gotten used to having to navigate around it and how to live everyday life with having a brother who's an alcoholic. So once he became sober, although she was very happy and relieved, she had to adjust to the new version of him. It was a challenge because as humans, we're creatures of habit. Good or bad, creatures of habit. We can get used to anything, any environment we can get used to. And so she had to process and readjust and be uncomfortable in a good way. But she had to do this adjusting in her brain to process the fact that, okay, I am dealing with someone who is now living a better life for themselves. Their everyday habits are different. How I have to talk to them and communicate with them is now different. Have you ever heard the term addicted to the struggle? That's a real thing. A lot of times we say that in a jokingly manner, or maybe we're being insulting to someone, but that is really a thing because, like I said, human beings are creatures of habit and we can adjust to any environment, good or bad. And so if you're used to swimming in a pool of drama or neglect or abuse by you or anyone else, or financial woes, or toxic relationships, whatever it is, or scarcity in any way, shape, form, or fashion, whatever you're used to navigating in for the majority of your life, or weight, that's one that hits home for me. Because I've talked about this in a couple of my podcasts. I have become extremely intentional about my health and my body. And I've lost a considerable amount of weight at this point. And weight hides, for me, I won't say everyone, but I believe for the majority of people, weight hides emotion. It hides unresolved feelings. And with every pound that I lose, it's like things are revealed. I become super emotional. I'm vulnerable. And so I am having to learn every single day what this looks like for me. Who I'm becoming is the woman that I see in my mind and feel in my heart. But what does it look like to really be her? What does it feel like to walk in her shoes every day? I have carried more weight than I have liked for the majority of my life. And I am now undoing that. What does that look like? I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks scary as hell. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Because when you identify as a certain type of person in a certain box, and then all of a sudden you decide you're going to change that, Even if it is the best thing for me, the best thing for my health, the best thing for my future generations, the best thing for my marriage, the best thing for my relationships, the best thing for my business, that does not change the fact that it is difficult to process. I know someone who was in a really, really toxic relationship, and she really wanted out. She was in it for many, many years. But when she finally got out of it, she complained that she missed him and she wanted him back and she wanted this and wanted that. And she had to realize, I had been begging to get out of the situation. However, I've been in it so long, this is what I knew how to operate in. I was addicted to struggling, addicted to being disrespected, addicted to not being loved. This is her story. So her new reality looked like being uncomfortable for a long time until she understood that, okay, there's a massive change that happened. And this adjustment period is hard, but it's temporary. And I have to get through this adjustment period so that I can get to the other side, because this is what happens. If you don't, what your brain will do is protect you. And in it protecting you, it is trying to get you back to comfortable, back to the known, right? Your brain is afraid of the unknown. It's trying to get to the known. The known is the extra weight. The known is the toxic relationship. So that's why, ladies, even if you're in a relationship with someone and you're unhappy and it's toxic, you break up with them, you end up choosing the same person. Different name, same type of person. This is why when a lot of weight is lost, if you don't do the necessary work, you end up gaining it back plus more. This is why if you want more money, you make it and then spend it all to get back to empty because you're used to not having it. This is why if you're used to being in debt and then you pay it all off, and then a couple years later you're back in debt or more debt because you're used to carrying it. Another example, personal example, at the same time of day for years, I would become exhausted. It's like the time of the day where my energy would just completely deplete. It was the end all, be all. And I would have to sludge and literally pull myself through the rest of the day. And so in the middle of the day, this particular time, I will always complain because I'm like, oh God, the day is not over with. Geez, how am I going to get through the other half of the day? And one day, when you start working on yourself and your body, especially the food that you're consuming, that affects your energy levels. And so I've really cleaned that up. So my energy levels have been much higher. And I remember one day in the middle of the afternoon, I caught myself saying, oh boy. And I stopped and I said, okay, Achie, why did you just say that? What's wrong? And I thought about it. I said, okay, you feel fine. You're not tired. Your energy is fine at this moment. Thank God. What's the problem? And I realized that I was so used to being exhausted, even though I was tired of being exhausted, I no longer wanted to be exhausted. I have been that way at the same time during the day for so many years that when I actually made the change so that was not my issue anymore, my mind and my body was still like, but this is the time of day where you complain because you're tired. So, okay, we're creatures of habit. I'm so tired, but I wasn't. And so if you've listened to this podcast any length of time, you've probably heard me say the first step to any level of transformation is awareness. And so me being aware and connecting those dots to say, this is what's happening. I have practiced being aware. That has taken a lot of practice for me. Most humans are not aware, okay? So because I'm extremely aware, I said, oh, this is what's happening. These are the dots I'm connecting here. I'm not actually tired. I'm used to saying that. But let me tell you what happens when you are not aware. Had that happened and I was not aware, what my mind would have done, it would have gone into protection mode. And protection mode is, okay, You're used to being exhausted. You're used to being tired during this time. That is what we're used to. That's how we're used to feeling. And it's been this way for so many years. Now it's been this massive change. Well, we don't like change. So what can we do to get back comfortable? And even though we don't want to be exhausted, we're comfortable in the exhaustion. So what can we do to get back to that exhausted feeling? That looks like eating junk again, or just not necessarily just eating junk, but not eating the cleanest foods. That looks like not moving your body. That means not taking care of your mental health. And then you look back and you're back in the slump and you're wondering, why can't I keep this up? Because there is something in your mind that is trying to get you back to that level of comfort, even though it is not the best thing for you. So becoming aware of that, you can say, okay, I see what's happening. I'm aware of what's happening. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I am okay in this level of discomfort because this right here is temporary and I am creating a new normal. I have a podcast coming out discussing how to choose your reality, and I'll talk about more of that in that episode, but I am choosing a new reality for myself. And the choosing part is the hardest part. The choosing and not falling back, and to continually choose over and over and over again. No, this is a new reality I want. No, this is a new reality I want. No, you have to continually remind yourself, especially when you are used to behaving a certain kind of way around any situation, or you have these thoughts around certain things and how they should be and how they operate in yourself and relationships, whatever it is that's been swarming in your head for Lord knows how many years. And then you say, boop, I'm going to change. And your other part of your mind is like, boop, no, you're not. But are you okay with being uncomfortable enough so that one day you can be comfortable again in the right way, in the way that you truly desire? Are you okay with that? Because the thing is, most people aren't. That's the thing, the very thing that so many people are afraid of. What actually happens once change occurs? But I just want to let you know that you're worth it. You are worth the change that you see in your mind and feel in your heart. That's not just there just because for fun's sake. That's there because there's a desire in you to make the change that you need to become who you really desire to be. And sometimes we can get discouraged because we feel like I'm too old. I have so much to work on, so much to change. I'm behind. Firstly, being behind is a fallacy. Unless someone has your exact life with every single one of your life experiences and possesses the same mind, same body, same soul, same spirit, they cannot tell you you're behind. And since, my dear, no one else on this big green earth, with all the billions of people who are here, there is only one you. Because there's only one you, no one can judge that, not even you. Because the culmination of your life experiences and your decisions are why you are where you are, and only you can change that. There's not going to be a carpet that comes out of the sky and takes over your brain and makes all your decisions for you, okay? I used to think that God was going to do all that for me, all right? I used to be lazy. I used to think God was going to do it. I'm just going to leave it to God. God's going to do it all. He's going to handle my brain. He's going to make these decisions for me. He's going to cultivate these relationships for me. He's going to do it all. Now, he may connect me to things, but the decisions are mine. And if you don't believe me, I want you to look at your life right now today, and I want you to tell me one part of your life since you have been an adult that's a decision that you have not either made or consented to. That is your life right now, a culmination of your decisions. Yes, we cannot control what happens to us when we are children, but when we are adults, we absolutely can. And then it's just your decision on when to work on that. I'm not saying I'm not going to push you and you need to do this and do that. However, just understand where you are and what it will take to make the change whenever you are ready or whenever you see fit. Because the timing is on you and you only. I was doing a coaching session with one of my clients, and while she thoroughly enjoyed the session, at the end, she was sad because she felt like she was too far gone. She felt like she had so much to work on. And, sometimes when we have those thoughts, we can think, there's no need working on it. Like, why would I even start? I'm so far gone. And I just had to give her the example of like surgery, right? So a surgery is needed and you don't want to have surgery. Like you want the results of surgery, but you don't actually want to go to the hospital, get on the operating table, let someone cut you open. Like you don't want to go through all that, but it's needed. The surgery is needed. And while it is uncomfortable to go through the surgery, while it is very uncomfortable in the healing process, it is painful. And sometimes depending on the surgery and your healing process may be longer than others, right? However, the result that you get after the healing process is what you are desiring. And so do you stay sick? Do you remain sick and you need this surgery? Do you just remain sick? Or do you go through what you need to do in order to have the healing on the other side of the pain? That's how you have to look at it. But you're worth it. You are absolutely worth the change. And it begins at the end of your comfort zone. And it's temporary. I'm not saying that once you make, the changes you want to make and, you go through the temporary discomfort and then life is dandy until you leave the earth. I mean, listen, we know life can throw blows, right? We know things happen. Change is always occurring. We are aware of that. It's just that some change is more difficult than others. And the more you work that muscle, it's like going to the gym. When you first go, you may only be able to lift 15 pounds, and you continue going, you can get up to 25 and 50 and 100 pounds, but you have to work the muscle of navigating change. And if you don't work that muscle and you are only used to navigating your levels of comfort, there's no desirable transformation that comes out of navigating your levels of comfort. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's not. So you have to be willing. And again, knowing you're worth the change and being aware enough to know what areas you want to change. And being open enough to hear the direction that you need to hear. To know what steps you need to take. What's your next step? What's your next connecting point? What's the next thing you need to do? You may need to hire a coach. You may need to buy a course. You may need to read a book. You may need to do some journaling. You may need to get a therapist. Do what you need to do for you. So ladies, that's it for today's episode. If my content has been helpful or inspiring and you like to support my work, I'll always say yes to a cup of coffee. The link is in the show notes. And if you'd like to connect with me beyond the podcast, my email list is the place to be. Go to www.imhe.com/let's connect. Again, that's imhe.com/let's connect. The link will be in the show notes as well. Remember that I love you, I see you, and I want you to win. Talk to you next week. Bye for now. I know firsthand how challenging this personal development journey can be. It can feel lonely, confusing, overwhelming, and even difficult to know exactly where to start. That is why I created an amazing resource for you. Go to imhe.com to download a free audio training that discusses the top 2 things you should focus on as you begin or continue your journey to shifting your mindset. Yep, only 2 things. I like to keep it simple and actionable. Again, that's imhe.com. And also, if you enjoyed today's episode, I have a favor to ask of you. My goal is to get this podcast in front of as many women as possible. The things I discuss are the things I wish someone would have told me when I began this journey. So in order to do that, please take a few seconds to share this episode with a friend and leave a 5-star review. Don't forget to subscribe so you can get notified when I release new episodes. I love you, I see you, and I'm rooting for you. Bye for now.